welcome to Tech Tips with Sold Out Media. I'm Amanda, and I'm by a beautiful lake in Canada today. Today we're going to talk about the R5 Mark II. Now, I got this 100 to 500 mil lens on it because being out here at this lake, we have shot probably 1,000 birds. Not shot, but photographed 1,000 birds. So many neat species that have gone by. So we'll throw some of those pictures up. But again, like this lends to the stabilization of this camera. Very great for just handheld bird photography. That being said, we've used it already on a professional shoot. You might have saw when we were in our backpack adventure in Cape Breton, I was using it to shoot some of the photograph. I was using it to photograph some of the actors and historians that work at Parks Canada there. Phenomenal day. And again, this camera doesn't disappoint. I will go over a side-by-side comparison with the R5 and the R5 Mark II, or the R5C and the R5 Mark II, either or, in another video, just to talk about the differences and my feelings about them. But today I'm going to try to focus on our standard tests that we do as if this was just like any other camera. So, without further ado, let's get to our regular old tests. The very first test that we did, and this is a feature people don't talk about a lot in these cameras. I don't find a lot of people mention them in reviews, but I love the HDR function in the R5 and in all the Canon photos. And I mean, Nikon's got some of them, not so much on the Sonys that I've tested, but I love HDR. I love it in video. I love it in photo. I just like how it looks. Anyway, so here is a test right away with the HDR video. And what we did was we did no HDR, HDR PQ, and movie HDR. And I was just super impressed at the movie HDR. Now that's like straight out of the camera, no editing in post, just dropping it on the timeline. Loved it. The PQ is quite nice too, but of course it's a bit of a different algorithm that they're using to achieve that. But if you're the kind of person who really likes to, I'll bring up that movie HDR again, like, look how gorgeous that looks with the sunset behind the little sailboat. We have not finished painting the sailboat. It's a summer project. So the next thing we got up here is a stabilization test. So we do our running stabilization. And again, we're chasing one of our kids, as always. And you can see what we're looking for here is if there's a lot of wobble in the electronic stabilization. So let's just look here. Yeah, and there he goes. To me, like, the standard stabilization is the best. Now, you need to have, from what I can tell, you need to have the lens stabilization on to operate the stabilization, the regular stabilization. Let's look at Jake here. All right, so what I'm seeing with the electronic stabilization, you do get a crop in on that, obviously. But compared to no stabilization and no lens stabilization, I do actually see the electronic stabilization doing better than it used to. And I'm not seeing the same warp in the background that I did with the original R. But it is a little bit of a wobble, but it's not anywhere near unusable as the first one was, the R5. We did a couple of dynamic range tests here. The first thing I want to show you is the R5 next to the R5C. Sorry, the R5 Mark II next to the R5C. Because I didn't have the R5 on me today, the R5C is the one that I used. Just to see what the blacks look like side by side in low light situations. We did a couple of different levels. As the sun was setting, it got a little darker and darker on Jake, but it's a good test of the dynamic range. Yeah, you do get quite a lot of dynamic range in both cameras, but you can see some difference there. I do. All right, so something else that you have in the camera here, or with this camera, is you have 8K RAW all the way up to 60. So I'm going to give you 8K RAW and slow-mo in 8K RAW, because you can slow down the 60 frames quite a bit, and compare it to the 120 slow-mo, or 119 point whatever. We're getting used to North America numbers, by the way. But yeah, so here's the slow-mo in 4K and RAW and compared to 8K RAW. What I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try to actually have Marcus compare it with some of the footage from the DJI, is it the 8? The Ronin 4D 8K. So many numbers to keep track of, and see what it is. So we'll go through more of the log settings and all that with these cameras in another video, but for now. All right, and next up, just a little bit of a different look with the ISOs changing in the background.
So 100, 60, 250, 320, 400, 5, 640, 800, 1600, 3200, 5000, 8000, 10, 12, 800, 16,000, 20,000, and 2,000, 25,600 without any extra cleaning up of the sensor. Alright, say no.
And this is a really good lead-in to actually looking at the noise reduction that comes in the new R5 Mark II. I was blown away at how clean the video could get here. Check this out. So we have Jake down by the lake, and it's really, really dark. All right, incredibly clean, right? All right, so next up we have the feature of pre-record in this camera, which again, pretty standard in a lot of models of cameras nowadays, but cool that we have it. Always useful. The first pre-record I had was actually on broadcast camera back in 2007 or 8. It was on one of the Sony EX-Cam news broadcast cameras, and that was a fantastic function because you're out trying to gather news and something happens and then you press record and you're in trouble because you missed the news. Well, that pre-record function was already there however many years ago that was. It's almost 16, 18 years ago. Now available in a prosumer camera, or a professional photography camera, if you will. So super cool, super convenient to have. And you can see right there, Jake presses the button, but we already have seen up in the corner here my kid hitting the ball or running up to the ball before Jake presses record. Super cool. Okay. The other thing we should check out is how to set up the eye tracking and take a look at the Muffin Man. So let's go to Muffin Man first. Menu. Oh, it's already been calibrated. Oh, there we go. No, there we go. Calibration. Start calibration. So you press the multifunction button and you hold it where the eye is. Hold it. And you're looking at. There we go. So that's how we set up the eye control. Did you see it? Where'd it go? There it is. All right. So now we can do more than just our standard look. It finds Jake as he jumps around the frame. Check it out. We can actually select him as a important person in the camera, or a recognized person. And this is how you do it. You just go into the photos, or well, you go into the menu and it tells you to select a photo or take a photo of him. And then it recognizes him. Now check this out. Now we'll do that same, what do you call it, a tracking test, the Muffin Man, but in a crowd. Now we had to be a little stealthy because, you know, in Canada you're really not supposed to just like stick cameras in people's faces. They don't like it. It's not polite. But so we hid in a bush. No, I hid in the car, and Jake stood there and people walked by him. So just check this out. Now look how it even though people walk in front and the camera jumps focus to them, as soon as Jake is back in the shot, it jumps immediately back to him. It's so fast. It doesn't lose him in the crowd, and it prioritizes him. So that's a really excellent feature happening here in this camera. All right, so on to photos. That same tracking works in the photo section. Sorry if when I'm looking down at the screen, I might be squinting a little bit because it's like mega hard. We took a little longer to set up, so the sun is getting higher up in my face. Pro tip, that's a risk you take when you shoot in the sun, but you don't have to set up lights as much. Although we do have a fill light right here, just so you know. So you could. All right, so HDR in the photo department. Now on the original R5, it was just HDR, and you could select how many photos that you wanted and just click the button, and it did all the aligning and stuff. But it's almost like they made that feature something different. It's multiple exposure, which I think maybe might have been on the camera before, and what I'm getting is mostly HDR PQ, which has its place, but the HDR multiple photo maybe still is the better choice when it comes to the photos. I did see two different circumstances where I preferred one over the other. So first we did the same as with the video. We did this sailboat in the sunset, and here's no HDR, and here's HDR PQ, which you can see does a fairly decent job. And then the multiple exposure, when it collaborates it, I had to play around with the settings, and when I got to the average setting in it, it came out okay. Continuous, multiple exposures, continuous, and average were the settings inside the menu. I'll show you right here in the menu on screen. Through the magic of TV, you're seeing it. Not that I'm holding it in the camera right now, but yeah. And then that turned out fairly okay. But when we went to, we were out picking some. Now this was not a planned moment for using the camera, but here we did no HDR and a PQ, and you could actually see where the PQ looked a little bit better out in the field. So just a thought. But one thing I was sad, happy, really happy about the video HDR working so well. A little sad that it's a little bit more effort to make it work with the HDR in the photo side of it. Because again, with the original one, I could just set HDR and just go tick, tick, tick. Now I have to physically press the buttons. There might be a setting in there somewhere, but it wasn't something I had to fix in the other one. So I got to figure that out. I'll come back to you someday if I figure it out and issue a correction. All right, now this camera has a faster readout speed because it's a, what do you call it, backlit stack sensor, and it should have a better. It's not going to compare to the Sony A9 IIIs. We saw that global shutter, what it does to a golf ball, but it does help. A faster readout will help with any rolling shutter issues or any warping of balls. So here we are hitting some golf balls, and here you can see in the mechanical shutter the ball is totally round. In the first curtain shutter we got the kind of a little bit of an egg shape, and then in the electronic shutter, total garbage. It's not fast enough. The readout on the electronic shutter still isn't really good enough for that kind of thing, but the mechanical shutter is. The issue with the mechanical shutter, you're maxing out at 30 frames per second. One of the cameras we tested, I think it was the Nikon, just recently had a 120 burst frames per second in a photo camera. I would have liked to see a little bit more frames per second out of this, but I mean, still, it's not a bad camera. So here's some focus stacking. And this is really cool. We did this while we were out picking peaches too, because I just was like, oh, well, here's a place and I have the camera, but all I had was my iPhone, no microphone or anything. So here, I'll let you watch this real quick. All right, so here's a single shot. And then in the menu, I'm enabling the focus bracketing. It's going to take 100 shots. You can see it just grabbed everything in focus all the way to the back. Pretty cool, huh? Also, little tech tip, if the screen is too bright or not bright enough, you can always just cover your head with your shirt, right? That's a tech tip. All right. And then you can see, here's the photo I took without the focus stacking, and then here's with the focus stacking. Now, be warned. You have to stack the photos in Photoshop or post editing somewheres. We had selected, because it was pre-selected in the camera, 100 shots. And 100 shots is great, but not so great for your processor. And the photos were all raw photos, weren't they, Jake? Yes. So, I mean, that's the benefit. It's not compressing it to a JPEG, but it is heavy on your computer at the end of the day when you have to process it. But there you go. Same spot. I didn't move the camera. I didn't change the focus, but side by side, the original photo and the focus stacked. Very cool. Now, another feature inside this camera is an upscaling feature. So we did a couple of photos around the garden here, and you can see inside the camera, there's the settings. I'm going through them with you here, and you can actually see upscaling or choose upscaling of a photo. You select the photo, it brings it up, produces, is it a JPEG, Jake?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the upscaled image becomes a JPEG, but look at the difference in size. Now, on screen, we couldn't see a difference. So we threw over to our good buddy Linus.
All right, thank you. Hey, it's me. I'm still here. No worries. Good to see everybody again. Amanda threw to me because I had the very important mission to get these printed by a professional print shop, and I'm gonna look at them and see if I see any difference. Now, I don't know which one is which. They put on the back side which one is which, and I haven't looked. I got this to me, so I didn't have to check all of that beforehand. So that's perfect for this test. Thank you, Amanda, for throwing over to me. I am now going to look at the shots. I have them printed, as you saw here, in A4 size. See, now I almost looked. A4 size, 2:1, and then I have bigger, the A3 of 2 on each. I just thought that maybe the A4 would be easier to handle on camera, so that's why. That's why. All right, first up, let's see, we'll do the leaf, and we'll see if I can see a difference in print here. I'd say these are very similar, but the top here looks a bit more detailed in the brightness here compared to here. I don't know if you can see that, but also looks a bit like it has some less focus, or I mean the resolution is half, so it is going to be different, but I don't know if I can tell. Maybe I'm looking at the bokeh, can't really tell the difference there either. This is good. This is really good. I think the top one is the nice one, the uncropped one. So I'm gonna, yeah, look at that. Not edited is what it says on the background. Okay, neat. I'm gonna see if it's the same on this one. This is very similar. What I think I can tell is right here in the information that you get with the light here. It's a bit different, but otherwise this is really good. Let's see. Okay, same, nice. Okay, so in an A4 size, they're super similar, so that's really good. I could tell the difference. I mean, I really hope I could. So, you know, I've been doing this for a while. I really hope that I could. But in the big one, It's always trying to find where the focus point is. And that's where the most information should be. So that's where I'm trying to find, and I think it should be around here where the light hits the can here. I think this one is the unedited one. What does it say? Yeah! Okay, cool. Okay, so you can tell on I can tell on a bigger one. This was actually harder. Maybe it's this picture, it's just really good. All right, let's look at the leaf one. They did a really well job printing this too. Yeah, but this is definitely the unedited one or uncropped one. I can tell in the details here. Same as in the A4 actually. Let's see. Yeah, nice. All right, so I'm gonna throw back to Amanda, but what I see, you can tell, but it's very, very nice. Not super noticeable. I had to print it this big to really see it, but I could tell in the tinier ones too. So well done. I'm throwing back to Amanda, and good to see you guys. So yeah.
All right, nice to see Linus again. Sometime soon we'll have to explain to you guys why I'm in Canada and Jake's in Canada and Linus is in Sweden, and earlier Linus was in Canada and Jake was in Sweden. We're all over the place right now, but we'll have another video to talk about what's going on. It's, you know, just standard TV people life. You end up being all over the place, but yeah, we're still working together. All right, and just so you see too, the resolution difference here is, it goes from, I have to see that bigger, 8192 times 5464 to 16384 to 10982 to 10,928, sorry. You think I'm dyslexic sometimes. But yeah, big upscaling. That's cool that that works. The other thing that this camera can do is take photos during video. So if you look here, you go through the menu settings and you select it here. Then, when you're out in the field recording video, you simply just press the button and you can record on the second card. You need a second card to do this. Photos at the same time without interrupting the video. Now, when we first started doing the food photography, we tried to take our beautiful B-roll shots and shoot the food at the same time when we were doing the cooking show, and would interrupt the video and didn't realize it back then. This doesn't interrupt your video. You can take the photo while doing it. So I'm very excited about that. We actually already have a second R5C Mark II on the way, not R5C, R5 Mark II on the way, so that we can use it in our next cooking program. Something else you might have been familiar with, this never really bothered me, but there'd be like a little blackout, a little shutter flap in between shots when you're pressing the shutter. You can actually set it so that doesn't happen. Here it is in the settings. And this is what it looks like out in the field. Now, we did have some issues when we were recording the Muffin Man and everything too with the HDMI output. We're having issues getting the video info out to the screen. It's giving us a clean feed out, or a feed of the picture to the monitor, but not the specs to the monitor. So we're still trying to figure that out. You kind of get it with the photo side, but with the video side, we're having issues. If anybody can put in the comments, if you figured it out, go ahead and put it in the comments. All right, so just like the pre-record, we have pre-shot in the pre-continuous shooting in the photo as well. So once again, here we go at the soccer ball, and you can see exactly in the video where Jake actually presses the what do you call it? The shutter button. The shutter button. The sun in my eyes is so distracting. Alrighty. So, and now we have also the same as Jake down at the lake in the dark. Here's the photo, and here it is cleaned up. It looks incredibly clean. Oh my gosh, I can't even believe that. That is incredible. Look at that. Let's see that again. Oh, wow. Yeah, so again, the photo take capabilities of this are phenomenal. All right, yeah, so now that we've looked at some photos, I want to show you, you can do a lot of the stuff in app. So I'm going to throw it over to Jake. Jake's going to show you the app and, yeah, how you control the camera with the app.
Guys, welcome, and now we're gonna do the app thing. We're gonna do the app. Easy to connect. It is the Camera Connect from Canon. It's a red one. I can see the screen right here. You click it, and then you have to go into your network settings on your camera itself, connect to them. If there's already a phone, you have to disconnect that phone. It'll tell you what to do. I'll show you it here. It's fairly simple, and then you can go into the app here. It'll stay connected to that phone until you disconnect it. Okay. So in the app, you can do your images on the camera, see what you have shot. You can have your remote live view shooting, so you can see what the camera sees. You can take your shots. You can set your settings in here. You can do your auto transfers to an FTP or something else where they're gonna be. You can connect the remote a Bluetooth remote controller. And you can add your location information. You can also set your settings for your camera in the app as well. So therefore, the app is actually quite handy. You can do quite a lot with it. And yeah, connect over Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. Right, back to Amanda.
Now, we did have some issues when we were recording the Muffin Man and everything too. With the HDMI output, we're having issues getting the video info out to the screen. It's giving us a clean feed out, or a feed of the picture to the monitor, but not the specs to the monitor. So we're still trying to figure that out. You kind of get it with the photo side, but with the video side, we're having issues. All right, so in my final thoughts, I love Canon, and I really do enjoy this camera. Right out of the box, I was able to just go with it. But after testing more Sonys and Nikons and Lumixes and stuff like that, there were some things that drove me crazy. Like, for example, if something wasn't available, you had to really MacGyver your way through the menu to figure out what setting was blacking out the other setting. Sometimes if you could see it and it's blacked out, you can click on it and it will tell you what's on that's preventing you from actually being able to use that setting. But for the 8K 60, for example, if you don't have RAW on, you can't see 8K 60 at all. And I had to Google real quick, and when I Googled, it came up 8K RAW in 60p, and I thought, oh, right, so it has to be RAW to access that. So those kind of things are a little bit annoying. You do get used to it when you're using the camera, but it would be nice to have those a little bit more obvious in the menu settings so it's easier for you to work with. The other thing that I want to say, unlike some of the cameras that we've used where you have a lot of programmable buttons, it's not that you can't program the buttons on the Canon, but the issue is that all the buttons that are already assigned, to me, they make sense where they're at. The good thing is, though, you can change everything in the Q menu that you want to. So you get like that Q button on your Canon. You get that Q button. You can actually assign in the menus everything that you need there instead, and then it's just as quick as pressing the Q button, and then you're off to the races. In general, though, I don't have a lot to complain about. The camera doesn't overheat. It has a fan. There's an airplane coming, and a cricket. Do you guys hear that cricket? The crickets are insanely loud here. Louder than the airplane, I think. All right, but yeah, you have the fan in the back, so it doesn't overheat. I think that issue's well gone. It does a better job handling the 8K, I'll say that, than the R5C. The R5C, when we did the 8K test, had a lot of buffering issues. We have the fastest cards you can get for the R5C, for the CF Express Type B, but the R5C still has a lot of buffering issues. What else can I say about this camera? There is a lot to say. It's water sealed, despite having the fan. You can get a couple of different battery grips to it that either give you a tethering attachment, an extra big fan, and there's another one that's for just double batteries. The batteries are brand new, so they are stronger. If you use your old batteries, it will block out some of the features. So that's one of those things where you might not see why right away you're not getting something. But if you're using one of the batteries you had from the original R5, you can use it, but some of the high-powered things like slowmo or the 8K, it's not gonna work. I don't even think the pre-record works with that. But yeah, so we get brand new battery type LPE6P instead of NH or N. So yeah, they made it. You gotta go buy some more batteries. We've already ordered more. But the battery life is really good on it. I have, like, when we were shooting in Lewisburg, I didn't run out of battery. Didn't run out of battery doing any of our testing. In fact, I don't think we've actually ran out of battery on it yet. We've topped it up when we've come home at night, but it's been pretty good. So yeah, in general, like the camera. If you have any questions though, or if you want us to test anything specific with this camera against any of the other cameras that you've seen on our channel, please let us know. Like I said, we will go through a little bit more detail. I'll throw it over to Marcus to play with some of the footage in DaVinci and have a little sub-episode with that. So you can see side by side with either the Sony, because he has with him the A9 III right now, and the DJI 4D 8K. So yeah, we can do a little bit of cinematic comparison. He's got a Blackmagic Ursa there. We'll see what looks best. But overall, I'm really happy with it. I'm very happy with the quality of photo coming out of it, the quality of video coming out of it, and especially the dynamic range coming out of this camera. Yeah, I hope you guys like and subscribe. Please leave us some more comments and questions. We're trying to organize ourselves so that we're answering the videos better. But yeah, we appreciate you, and we will see you in the next one.